Not sure why I do this. I think it's because there are. Alexa, what's the population of the world?
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the world population today is approximately 8.01 billion.
Okay, there are a lot of people on the planet. Maybe I should clip these nails. That should be the priority. The whole world can watch me. Well, you're not going to watch. It's out of the camera shot, but I'm 65 years old and I can't even do this properly. Oh, I should probably put some glasses on. Blind as a bat without them. God, that skin I'm cutting. Maybe these are dull. Do I have any others? Is having Alexa copyright? I don't know. Alexa, are you copyrighted? Alexa, are you copyrighted? No answer. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 2:51 p.m.
Alexa, are you connected to the internet?
Yes, looks like this device is connected to the internet at the moment.
Alexa, what is the time space coordinate? Yeah, all right. A lot of fun you are. Alexa, what's the date?
Today is Monday, November 20th.
Alexa, what is the year?
The year 2023 is currently underway.
Alexa, what is it military time?
The modern 24-hour clock is the convention of timekeeping in which the day runs from midnight to midnight and is divided into 24 hours. This is indicated by the hours passed since midnight, from 00 to 23.
Alexa, what is it military time?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, military time is a method of measuring the time based on the full
Alexa,
24-hour.
That's not what I asked. Alexa, what is the military time now?
Thanks for telling me.
Alexa, what is the military time?
In Lyndhurst, it's 14:53.
All right, well, there, finally you gave me an answer. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 2:53 p.m.
Alexa, what's the date?
It's Monday, November 20th.
A little grooming here. Okay, and Alexa, what is the date again?
Today is Monday, November 20th.
Alexa, what planet are we on?
We are on planet Earth.
Alexa, is time travel possible? Alexa, is time travel possible?
The theories of special and general relativity allow for the hypothetical possibility of time travel if suitable spacetime geometry or motion of space existed. However, time travel is not possible at this time.
Alexa, are you a time machine?
I don't know that one.
Alexa, I think you're a time machine.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
A little grease. See, now I've got grease on my hand. How about this hand? This thing is still stiff. The others aren't. There. I love this little. I love these little pocket knives. But this one's kind of stiff. The others aren't. The others, a couple have fixed blades. Yeah, the only problem with the flicky knives is they get a little wobbly and they can break. I did actually have a switchblade once. I don't know how it was legal to have it, but it broke. It was very delicate and the mechanism broke. I don't think it was technically a switchblade. There was something you had to do. You had to press a button and then hop on your foot. There's always some kind of technicality that makes it possible to have something like a switchblade legal, like this. My little fun friend here. It's just a little pocket knife and you don't press a button. It's just a little nub here. Got a little nub. You put your finger on it, and there you go. Yeah, but if you got Brill cream all over your hand, oh, this isn't Brill cream. You're probably not old enough to know what Brill cream is. This is Fructus style pure clean finishing paste. Garnier. That's a fancy name. It's probably French. Pure Clean. We used to have Brill cream, and it was very sticky and greasy, and they used to call them greasers. Tough guys would put it in their hair to slick it back and make it look stylish, and their ducktails or whatever. But that's like ancient history. And then there was nostalgia in the '70s for it. Oh, God, I'm just going to leave those nails alone. Hopefully nobody watches these things. I just feel so anxious because if you're looking through the internet, you come across some of the things that I say. I think at the moment I actually meant them, but I think it's a cop-out to say I have a multiple personality because that doesn't exist, or to say I'm bipolar. Is it bipolar or manic depressive? I don't even know. Schizoaffective? It's some label. Some people don't believe mental illness exists. People just have character flaws. And I think that that's a legitimate point of view. I don't agree with it. I think maybe sometimes people use mental illness as an excuse just to be less, to not try. Oh, I'm not responsible for my actions. I'm an alcoholic. I can't help it. I'm a slave to alcohol. I have no choice. I have to drink. Now, I think I'm a determinist. I think that is valid to like 90 to 99%. We are 90 to 99%. Our behavior is determined. We can't help it. It's in our DNA. It's in the way we were raised. It's part of the culture we were raised in. Our choices are very limited. I think my mom was a Presbyterian. Yeah, what were we before that? It's like we were whatever helped us fit in, I think, was what it was. Because some of us were Catholics. And I think some of them became Catholics to fit in. I'm not sure. I don't know. This is just speculation. Because I went back to where they were from and I couldn't find them. But I'm glad I went. It was a really nice place. If we're not from there, it'd be it's a nice place to lie and say you're from. Gosh, okay, what was it? Here we go. Zen's family. Okay, so that if you're watching, you want to know what my real name is. It's Zen's. Zen's family origin. Gosh, darn it. This computer is from 2009, so it's a time traveler. It's just ancient. And it barely works. You know, it takes like forever, and then it crashes, and it takes forever to get anything. I think that's what makes me opening Zen's family origin. So you want to know who I am, I'll tell you. Zen's doesn't sound very French, but the first names are always French, and it's like Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, Van Damme isn't French; it's Dutch, but he's Belgian. I'm not. I might as well be Belgian. I'm someplace called Alsace-Lorraine, Moselle, Metz. Zen's family origin. The Zen's family originated from Metz, Alsace-Lorraine. Several Zen's family members emigrated to Metz, to Ohio around 1830, where they established Zen City. We went out in the woods and we made our own city. So we didn't get on welfare. I think maybe we had enough money to buy some axes and some saws, and we built ourselves our own city. So that's us coming to America. And that's, I think, what made America great at one time is poor people that had nothing in Europe, the colonizers, right? The vast majority of people didn't have shit when they came here. They were half starving. Got a little land, went out into the woods, knocked down a couple trees, and built Zen City. I don't know how big Zen City, which was later named Fort Recovery, is about 70 miles southwest of Findlay, Ohio. Some of the Zen's family members changed their name to Sands, okay, during immigration from Ellis Island. However, most of the Zen's family retained their name. The Zen's family tree can be traced back to about 1775 to Anton Zen's, Anton. One of his sons, Johann Peter Zenz, was born in 1804. I guess he was the guy that came over in 1830. There are several Zen's family members currently living in Ohio. Oh God, I hope they don't look me up. But if you are I'm sorry, I apologize, but you are related to me. It's just Gary Zen's Solon, Ohio. Hopefully he's died of old age. And Helmut Zen's address unknown. Helmut. Okay, so these were crowds. And I figured when my mom died, I was going to sauerkraut land. I figured I was going to be in Bavaria or Baden, whatchamacallit, Upper Saxony, Lower Saxony, Baden, Binkelstein, Prussia, whatever. We really never knew a lot about Germany and quite frankly never cared. In World War One, if you were German, they hated you because of World War One. In World War Two, the Germans were busy exterminating Jews. So if people think you're German, they hold you collectively guilty for that. Even though the whole irony with collective guilt, and I think that's why I'm so upset, is that's what started the Holocaust. And I think that's why I have no proof of this, but I'm suspicious why we don't like to talk about anything. It just seems like whatever we are, people hate, and sometimes. So it's best just to be one of the crowd. People are Catholics, we'll be a Catholic. People are Protestants, we saw the light, we'll be a Protestant. We just wanted to fit in. So I go back to Germany to find out where we're from, and lo and behold, it's France now. And I guess they fought over it for years. Maybe that's one of the reasons we left, ping pong. And everything's mixed in this region. People are mixed. De Gaulle made sure they speak French now, but they don't look particularly French. What if anybody looks French? They look like, if you put them in the United States, they'd fit in quite well, except for the fact that they speak French. It was a nice place. The architecture is a mixture of French and German architecture. This is the thing that struck me. It was so clean and modern. It was very pleasant. I saw one homeless person, and he was well dressed. He was an alcoholic who drank apple cider because apple cider is cheap, and he was begging outside the church. Such a well-dressed homeless person. There were a couple, I think, Muslims running shish kebab shops or something like that, but there was no, at least what I saw, there was no conflict. Nobody was like throwing bricks at each other. They seemed to be fitting in, at least at the time. This is 2014, so I don't know how things are now. The whole world's gone crazy. But I think I saw a couple people walking around in those heads with the veils, the head scarves, the not a burqa, but they're dressed like a nun. They're all covered up, and I think that's illegal now because it's not French. It's not secular. France is a very secular country. I think you're allowed to wear a cross. I mean, they become very culturally Catholic, although they're basically atheists because that's their culture. Like maybe say Israel's culturally Jewish, although it is becoming religious. And here we go, getting a little conflict. I've been still writing the all expense paid, the science fiction story. If you're a Doctor Who fan, reference Delta and the Bannermen. Any movie where aliens get stuck on Earth, the solar opposites. My favorite Martian, visitor to a small planet where some alien gets stuck on Earth. K-Pax. There are a million of them. So anyways, he works for an galactic travel agency on a space station, or like a buoy. It's like there's a show now, a science fiction show called A Beacon. So he works on like a beacon, like the science fiction show I was just watching a little bit of. Only the beacon is for tourist it's travel. It's a hub. It's like an airport. People transmit in on hyperspace shuttles or just like transmit beams. And this guy, he was from a little planet. Maybe it was crowded like Singapore, very modern, very not much going on. Employment's really hard to find because everything's run by robots. So he goes out into the universe, looking, like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Let's say that. And he gets stuck on this hub, this this beacon, this space station, this intergalactic transmat hub. And he comes across this guy who's a real gonif. He's a jerk. And of course, he's running a business. Now, government, as far as government goes in this we'll call it the Intergalactic Confederation, is minimal. Most things are private and done contractually. There are certain designated planets where you just can't make it on your own. They're like public housing. And like 90% of the people don't work, and it's automated, and you get a bare minimum. And if you don't like living in the projects, basically a prison, you volunteer for the army or for a hospital or for some kind of work on a colony. Just make work, And then he got away from that, and so he's stuck on this hub. Watch Delta and the Batterman. It's stupid, but it's kind of like they end up. It's where I got the idea, so I'm stealing it. The TARDIS lands on this space station, and they find that they've won an all-expense-paid trip to Earth in 1959 to Disneyland, and they get distracted by Sputnik. So my story is it's like that. He works for the Intergalactic Travel Agency, and he's owed like 2 weeks paid vacation or a month or whatever, like they do in Europe. It's part of the contract. That's what the government does. It enforces social welfare benefits through your job. And if you don't have a job, you get, like, say, you're dead. They'll pick you up and they'll dump you on one of these welfare planets. If you're lucky. If not, they won't find you and you'll just die. And nobody really cares because most of the universe is dog eat dog. But the way they've dealt with inequality or poverty is they haven't dealt with inequality at all. They'll just dump you on like a poorhouse, like a welfare. They call them welfare planets. That's how it translates. So he's from a welfare planet. Grew up on the projects on basic minimum income. Nice leftist idea. 90% of the planet doesn't have a job. 90% of the people that don't have a job don't want a job. They got enough to eat. They got shoddy, fake clothes that have all the name brands on them. I guess you could call them Planet of the Chav. Everybody's on, if you're British, Planet of the Chavs. You live in public housing. You live on welfare. You're all dressed. You try to look like you're slick and a gangster, but you're just a government suck. And then there are a few people that want out. They can't get out because they don't have any special skills. And of that 90%, %, 10% want a job, and of that 10%, maybe 10% of them will find a job. So maybe like 1% of 90%. So not even, they can find a job. And of that 1%, maybe some will get some training and some skills or take an aptitude test and get a scholarship to a university and get out of it. So there is social mobility, but it's very, very limited. It's like a feudal system, but this keeps people alive and stops them from rebelling. And I guess it's more humane than just doing what they're doing to the people of Gaza right now. Is you're a nuisance. You're still sore about us taking your land in 1948. I'm sorry, but we're just going to have to exterminate you. To avoid that, they've just basically created, I guess, what American, the welfare state, and it's worked quite well for centuries. Well, that's another 1980s Doctor Who episode, Paradise Towers. It's just a place to warehouse poor people that don't have maybe a lot of ambition, but can cause trouble, and society's elites are too squeamish to just wipe people out. Although I guess you get a bonus if you sterilize yourself, but it's still a problem. But if you want to get out, it's hard. It's hard to find the opportunity to get out. And this guy tried, and he ended up stuck on this space station, this beacon, this transmat beacon. And this guy runs a little business. He employs 3 or 4 people, and people book vacations to planets. Sometimes planets that are gray areas. They don't exactly break the law, but are you supposed to be on Earth? Hunting buffalo, or a lot of people go there because they like to engage in, like, a lot of terrorist groups are just aliens. I bet you didn't know that. Like the Baader Meinhof gang, you think that was a real thing? That was just a bunch of aliens on a lark. Oh, Marxism will cause trouble in Germany. The Stern gang in Israel, they were aliens. Osama bin Laden, you didn't think he kind of looked like he was an alien? I don't know. It's like, oh, what's it show, Men in Black? It's a little bit like that. You don't really know if people are aliens or not. Our entertainers, our terrorists. Let's face it, Elon Musk has got to be from an alien planet. He's just. And did you hear what he said? I don't even know what to think about that. My first reaction was, oh my God, he's really killed himself. But he's so rich. He's like Kanye West. I don't know. I guess these people get so big-headed they just go a little bit nuts. He agreed with someone who said, all right, look, you're mad because people are attacking Jews and anti-Semitism. And all of a sudden you want to defund these cultural, not my words, but theirs, these culturally Marxist programs. Well, where have you been for the past 15 years with the critical race theory and the attack on white people? Again, not my words, but these are the paleo-conservatives. Why should we feel sorry for you now when you've basically, and again, not me saying this, but this is the paleo-conservatives saying this, when you've basically funded these universities and their total rank hatred of Western civilization. We're colonizers. We did slavery. Well, the Muslims did too. Everybody had slavery. We were just the guys that said, you know what, we don't want to do slavery anymore because it's bad. We feel bad about doing it. Let's try to be a little bit more fair and humane and enlightened and advanced. But now we're the bad guys because we own slaves. But then everybody did. Dahomey. I mean, everybody. If it wasn't for us, it wasn't for Western European civilization, there'd still be massive. I mean, I know there's still slavery, but it's like hiding. It's like hiding slavery. It would be just out in the open and accepted because it was everywhere. Every culture in the world accepted slavery. That's the way it was. There was a small elite that ran everything. Then you had the peasants and maybe a nobility. And then you had a slave class that did all the work. It's like Nietzsche said, all great societies were based on cruelty. And not just based on cruelty, but based on the aesthetic of cruelty by placing cruelty and sadism up on a pedestal, placing cruelty in a high place and saying, this is what civilization is. It's the intelligent and strong doing whatever they want, and they're entitled to because they can. At some point, white people or Europeans said, well, enough of this. If we consider ourselves so scientific and enlightened and believe in things like natural law and the rights of man and equality, at least of opportunity, how can we believe these things and hold other human beings lesser or as servants? So that was our idea. It wasn't your idea. We put that out because your culture just accepted that. So now we're the bad guys, but we really are the bad guys because we opened Pandora's box and said, we're going to change this. And now it's coming back to bite us in the ass. And it's kind of what I was watching about what they said about the Jewish community was a lot of them were into communism because they were just treated like shit. And so their idea was, under communism, Jews won't be treated like shit anymore. We'll be equal. That's a good idea, although people basically aren't equal. Some try, some are just smart, some are just born mean and nasty. We're going to avoid racial stereotypes because I don't like that. And one can make an argument for it, but I think we have to avoid those things. Northern Ireland, same people, Celts, same ethnic group, same intelligence. Some are Protestant, some are Catholic. One civilization did a lot better than the other. Ironically enough, that's come full circle. The Republic, it's marginally Catholic. I was over there in 2006, and I said, Well, this is a Roman Catholic culture. And he says, it used to be. Now everybody's rich and no one's into religion at all. They don't need it anymore. I was in front of this big cross, and he says, this is part of history. This is where we came from. It's we were Catholic. We're not really anymore. He didn't give me a big speech. He just says was. He says it was Catholic. It's not. And this is in 2008. And then they had a being gay was legal. Being divorced is legal. Um, Abortion's legal now. I think they have Alexa, is medical marijuana Alexa, wake up. Alexa, is marijuana legal in Ireland?
I don't know that.
Alexa, do they have medical marijuana in Ireland?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, no.
All right, well, let's take a look here. So obviously it's going to take a long time. I just wanted to do this to straighten something out. Not necessarily apologize, because I'm always apologizing. But to let people know that I'm really not this horrible person, and I'm just basically an internet troll saying really mean things to get you to go, oh, I got to find him. Because my page is not monetized or anything. I think I do it for the same reason 12-year-olds do it, because I'm 65 going on 12. I do it for attention. I find an issue, and it's not totally insincere, but I find a controversial issue, and then I decide, well, what else? I'm old. I'm sick. I'm dying. I've been dying for the past 40 years. What the heck? I'll go on the internet and say whatever I want. They can't fire me. They can't cancel me. They can't destroy my legal career that was destroyed years. That's actually what happened. I actually said something rather critical. When was this? This is about maybe the first Iran war. When they invaded Kuwait. I said something critical of the state of Israel and what they were doing to the Palestinians, because this has been going on a long time, boys and girls. Those poor people have been suffering for a long time. Now you can say, oh, they're terrorists, they deserve it. I don't think anybody deserves it. Do I think Germans deserved Dresden or Leipzig? I think at one point I did, but then I realized that if you say something like that, you have no right to criticize the Nazis for killing 6 million Jews, because collective guilt, Jews are responsible for communism, because Karl Marx, Leon Trotsky, Rosa Luxemburg, I guess there were a lot of them. All the Nazis, are Germans collectively responsible for the Nazis because all the Nazi thinkers were German? Although all not Germans are Nazis. And obviously, most people of the Jewish faith are not communists or don't like communism or never had anything to do with communism. But they are collectively punished for it. And now Palestinians are being collectively punished. Oh, well, they're all like that. They all support Hamas. It was really popular. The German people loved Hitler. He gave them their dignity back. He made Germany great again. He put them all back to work. He gave them a military. They were prosperous. They all got to drive around on the Volkswagen. That was actually true. The people's car was kind of a scam originally. Very few people got it, but it's very. The Nazis did accomplish a lot of good things. I mean, can I say this? I shouldn't say. It's kind of association fallacy. They had the Autobahn was good. The V2, they invented rockets. The gasification of coal. Not Zyklon B, not so much. The thing is about inventions. They can be used for good things and bad things, and they just used them for bad things. But they had a very high, sophisticated, technologically advanced culture. The Messerschmitt 262, the V2 rocket, a lot of really, really advancements technologically. Stalin did too. He had the T-34 tank, the Sturmovik, Sputnik. They industrialized more in 10 years than the West had in 50. Or so they say. Maybe I'm wrong about that too. I don't know. But I've heard people say that. Huh. What do people say here? Sorry, your post has been removed from debate. Moderators remove posts from feeds for. Yes, you are wrong, as you are in the wrong sub. Rule number 1. I guess rule number 1. Off topic. Okay, so you can't, this is to talk about debate and not to debate. That's really messed up. So where do I go to debate? Debate. It's like, why even bother? I mean, everything's so censored on the internet now, and it's going to get worse. Because God forgive you criticize the chosen people. Is that a debate? All right. Well, there's evidently it's about styles. All right. Okay. So I guess there's no place where you can just rant. Um, in Germany, it's illegal to say the Holocaust never happened. In a lot of countries in Europe, if you say anything offensive or even something that can be interpreted as racist or offensive to a race or religion, they can arrest you. That isn't the case here, but I got a feeling that's going to be the case because, again, I have to be careful. Who controls? We're not a democracy. I think we should be, even if it means mob rule. I mean, I think the problem is that we aren't a democracy, and that we were never set up to be a democracy. And that's like, oh, well, since we were never set up to be a democracy, since God wrote the Constitution, that's no, the Constitution was a big mistake. It really, there are some very, very good things about the Constitution. Very intelligent, very progressive, very ahead of the time, but no more. Obviously, not now. I think the United States, in many significant ways, is a failed social experiment. And I think if we're going to preserve any civility in the world, we're going to have to be like Singapore. There's like a little soapbox in a little park where you can debate, and if you get a little out of hand, they'll come and arrest you. But people are prosperous; they have opportunities to work. It's very commercial. There is a social safety net of a sort. There's the Provident Trust. If you work, and they don't have a minimum wage, but if you're having a little trouble, they'll give you a negative income. When you pay your income tax, they'll say you owe $5,000 in income tax. They'll give you $5,000 back, and then they'll give you another $5,000 because you've got a family or whatever. So you get a kind of subsidy. Oh, Shakira admits fraud. Alexa, how old is Shakira?
Shakira is 46 years old.
Oh, she looks good. She looks like a kid. Oh, she takes care of herself. Tax fraud and agrees to pay $7 million fine and jail dodging plea to spare her son seeing her to go to trial. Huh. I'll pay your taxes. I guess they put Sophia Loren in jail years ago for that. What is she doing in England? I guess she decided, a lot of them go to England. They don't like living here for some reason. Maybe we're too violent. They say England's violent, but violence there is like someone takes a hammer and they break into your car, they have fist fights. It's like violence without guns, so you're less likely to end up dead. But there is violence. But it's just here the violence is instead of getting hit with a hammer or a fist, you end up getting shot in the head, and so you're much more. Violence here is like really, really more likely. Oh, does she have red hair? Shakira Isabel Mebarek Rapoli. God, she looks good for 46. She looks like a kid. How do you do that? I mean, I'm sure it's plastic surgery, but that's I admire people that take care of themselves. Look at me. I'm fat. I'm disgusting. She's the only child of William Marabek Chadid and Nita Rapol Tirado. She's of Spanish and Lebanese descent. Her father, William, was born in New York City. Family in Lebanon. Okay, Lebanese. Born in Colombia. Doesn't say anything about... Oh, tax controversy. Here we go. In November 2017, Shakira was named in the Paradise Papers. It was revealed that she sole shareholder of a Malta-based company which was being... Oh, God damn. being used to transfer $30 million in music rights. Her attorneys insisted that her use of the company was entirely legal. In 2018, due to at least in part to the information revealed in Paradise Papers, Spanish authorities began an investigation into Shakira's finances. Prosecutors, Alexa, what is the net worth of Shakira? Prosecutors.
Shakira is worth an estimated $300 million US dollars.
Oh, okay, so I don't feel sorry for her. She's rich. Prosecutors argued that she did not pay taxes in Spain between 2012 and 2014, during which she was living in Spain and with Peake and their family, while Shakira argued that she maintained her primary residence in the Bahamas during that period and otherwise was touring internationally. In 2021, the Spanish judge ruled that there was evidence of criminality sufficient for Shakira to be brought to trial on charges of tax fraud. In 2021, the Pandora Papers showed Shakira submitted applications for 3 offshore. They got to do away with these offshore companies. Just there has to be a world agency that just says, you know what? There's no such thing as a tax haven. A flat income tax of 15%, you're going to pay it. And if you don't pay it to your local government, you're paying it to the United Nations. And nobody wants the United Nations to have that kind of money. But there's got to be a minimum tax of 10, 15%. I mean, it's not progressive. It's not redistributive. But it's something. And the inequity has just grown too much. And I don't care how hard you work. And a lot of these people don't work hard. Look at Shakira. Does she look like she's worked? I mean, I'm not saying she should be poor or that I hate her, but pay your taxes, woman. Yeah, you're pretty. Pretty woman for 46. You got $300 million. Don't be so greedy before entering the stage. Okay, 2003. God, she was pretty. She's such a pretty. Ooh, and there she's like Shakira at the Rock in Rio. Alexa, how old was Shakira in 2008?
Shakira turned 31 on February 2nd, 2008.
Looks like she's
She
naked.
was born in
but she's not.
1977.
That's like a nice effect. 2014. Yeah, you can tell she's had plastic surgery. Her face doesn't look the same. She'd probably be all wrinkly now. Who wants to be wrinkly? I mean, I don't. You know, the whole thing with plastic surgery, with men or women, nobody wants to be a wrinkled up old prune bag. Why not? Why not get a little work on you? Nobody wants to look like that. I mean, you can say it's phony or whatever, but I get it. But you're taking a risk because a lot of these people, they get mutilated and the plastic surgery gets botched, and that's why I'd never get it. I'm going to be old and ugly. I was never all that attractive. Although I've looked at pictures of me from the past, and I actually was a good-looking guy. I just didn't have any confidence, I guess. In 2022, after not reaching a deal with the Spanish prosecution ministry, the singer decided to go to trial to prove her innocent. The prosecutor asked the judge for an 8-year prison sentence over 6 alleged tax fraud schemes. On December 2022, the Spanish judge from Esplugues de Llobregat approved the tax fraud trial after prosecutors accused her of failing to pay 14.5 million euros, 13.9 million in taxes. Shakira claims that she had already paid and she owed plus 3 million euros, $2.8 million as interest. A trial date was set for November 23rd, November 2023. That's now, I guess, after the presiding Barcelona judge, Ana Duro, received the necessary qualifying papers from both parties. On the 20th of November, that's today, on the 20th of November 2023, at the start of the trial, Shakira settled the case by paying $7.5 million fine. In a statement, she cited her well-being and its influence on her children as being factors in her decision. How many kids does she have? She doesn't even look like she's old enough to have kids. See, that's 2 kids. See, that's a good plastic surgery when you don't even look like you're old enough to. There's another one that. I can't think of her name right now, but I mean, Gwen Stefani, that's her name. She's like in her 50s. I mean, obviously she's had work. When she was a kid, she was kind of chubby and she looked like a real person. 2015. Yeah, mom's trying to be cool. She's got that mom's trying to be cool look. How old is she? 54. My God. Alexa, how old was Gwen Stefani in 2015?
Gwen Stefani was 50 years old in 2015.
What? No, she couldn't have been. Alexa, how old was Gwen Stefani in 2015?
Gwen Stefani turned 46 on October 3rd,
Yeah, all right.
2015.
You get things
She was
wrong.
born in 1969.
She's 46 there still, you know. She's married, okay, divorced. Blake Shelton. Married. Okay, who the hell is Blake Shelton? Blake Towson Shelton is an American country singer. Blah, blah, blah. So, anyways, for a 54-year-old woman, okay, how old is Blake? He's 47. Yeah. Well, I think she's aging more gracefully than Madonna. Madonna just looks like a beanbag. She should just cut it quits. Yeah, come on. She's trying to look young. Yeah, that's not good plastic surgery. That's obviously it looks like someone slathered cement. It's kind of like Elizabeth R. Just yeah, basically that's give it a rest. Give it a rest. You're 65 years old. It's time to retire. My God. Now you know who's doing the well, Cher seems to, but the one that I think is really aging gracefully is Pat Benatar. She's 70 and she doesn't dress in the span. She's a what I call a grand, what they used to call a grande dame, what they used to call classy dame. I like the 40s. A lot of people do. They would just, I mean, that was women had a lot more quality in the 40s than they had before because of the war and everything like that. So they were doing roles that they didn't always do, and that was good. But it wasn't the PC crap that we have now. But they'd call a woman like that a classy dame. She's got class. She's not some floozy, just you know producing the goods to get attention or money or whatever. She's classy. She's got class. You should respect her. She's intelligent. She's got grace. She's got beauty. Class. That's what they used to call class. A class act. Madonna is not a class act. Madonna's kind of like, well, she's just sad. She's trying to be sexy, and grandma isn't sexy. You don't want to see my wrinkled up old 65-year-old ass. I'm not sexy, and nothing works. No pressure in the fire hydrant. Just fat. I can barely make it to the bed. It's just sad. I'm not all that wrinkled for a 64-year-old, almost 65-year-old person. But still, getting old it's humiliating. I can't get up and down stairs. Everything hurts. God. My skin is like every time, and I fall now too. I don't know what that is. Some people, they take better care of themselves at 65. They say, they say 60 is the new 40. But I didn't take care of myself. I was very abusive, and I smoked from 75 to I smoked for 26 years and did other things. I was like Brett Kavanaugh, although I didn't really drink for 20 years, but I did other things, and then I did drink, and it makes you fat and it ruins your liver. I didn't take care of my health, and my diet's still terrible. In the words of Lord Buddha, all suffering comes from desire, and if you flagrantly enjoy your life and give in to the carnal lusts, Christianity's right about this, the religious people are right about this, the Mormons are right about this. Smoking, drinking, eating a lot of food, you're going to ruin yourself. You got to take care of yourself. And all these things that bring us pleasure will eventually bring us that much more pain. And I've completely forgot what I was going to talk about. Oh, yeah. Controversy. I'm writing this science fiction thing, and he works for this travel agent, and by contract, he's owed, like, we'll say a month. I put down 26 cycles, but it's the equivalent of about a month. He's earned about a month of paid vacation, and his boss is a crook, and he threatens to file a lawsuit or go to the labor board, which is, since it's kind of like a minimal government, the labor board is kind of like, that could take years. But what the guy's afraid of is bad press. The last thing he wants is someone from the Labor Department, who's like our Internal Revenue Service. They're very understaffed, and they're just like all over the Galactic Confederation. And they can be bribed, but usually it would be, easier to give the guy a vacation than it would be to bribe a labor, someone from the labor bureau to look the other way, because there were a lot of other infractions. So he thinks, I got to get rid of this guy. So he says, sure, go to Earth. You want to go to Las Vegas? Sure, go to Las Vegas. But first, why don't you try Gaza City? It's. He's like, I don't see this on the tourist. It's a little off the beaten path. It's kind of like Tijuana. You'll have a great time. And if you don't like it, just hop back on the Transmat and go to Vegas. I says, I don't know. He says, all right, go to Vegas, go to Gaza City, go where you want. So sure enough, I guess he was kind of like playing cat and mouse with him, trying to make it look like he wanted to go to Gaza so that he dotted all his T's. So when they come around looking for him, he says, I tried to talk him out of going to Gaza City, but for some reason he thought that was like a challenge, And why he went in with no weapons or anything, I don't know. Maybe he thought he was a journalist or something, or a human rights activist. Can't even understand how someone would want to go to Gaza City. He did, because he didn't know. He tried to convince his employee that Gaza City was like Sun City in South Africa. Little controversy because it's in an area that's disputed. I mean, how much attention does some alien pay to American politics? Especially when your ability to travel through time and space is a gray area also, that you're not supposed to, but it's possible. And so what's going on there and what is the present is a little confusing. So he lands in 2023 in the middle of a bombing. Transmat capsule explodes, evaporates. There's no way he's stuck there forever. I guess his boss just figured he'd be dead. And I haven't decided the details of the story, but maybe he's kidnapped by, Hamas says he looks a little Jewish because he's dressed like a Hawaiian tourist. He thought maybe he'd go to Hawaii too. He'd go to all the hot spots. He'd start in Vegas and he'd make his way around. And he looks around, welcome to Gaza City, and he says, oh boy, the boss is I should have done my homework. This does not look like a vacation spot. Hamas kidnaps him, figures he's some wayward journalist or human rights activist. They don't care. They're going to slit his throat. And then the IDF gets him, thinks that he's some sort of, maybe he's a journalist, maybe he's a hostage from the kibbutz. Nobody knows. His translator later is, so they think he's traumatized. It's speaking English. What's this? Hello? Oh, okay, yes, hello? Oh, it's tomorrow already. Oh, it is. Today's Monday. What time? I'm sorry. I'm old. I'm confused. I had to turn the water on because they cleaned the gutters, and I fell down the steps, and I banged my head. Yeah, I hope they don't put me in a home. I really don't want to leave here, so thank you for coming over and repairing my dishwasher. I could write you a check. I can write you a check. That's why I'm all right. I'm a little confused. My brother-in-law looked at my head and says, you don't need to go to the emergency room. Just don't fall. I says, you're not going to put me in a home, are you? And he says, yeah, you keep talking about going to a home, and we will. I says, you're not going to a home. Just, maybe lose a little weight and be a little. This is the funny thing. I quit drinking, and all of a sudden I'm falling all the time. It's like, I don't know how that works. I quit drinking. I quit eating pizza. I'm so healthy now, but maybe I'm just like depressed because I'm missing all the things. But I was like, I'm a little. I took the stairs a little bit too quick, but it's like he's like, let me smell your breath, Mr. Alki. And I said, when was the last time you had a drink? I said 6 months ago. And he says, well, you should be proud of yourself. That's good. You're doing, and you lost 25 pounds. And then I fall down a flight of stairs. So, well, not a flight, but like it's like these stairs, and then it turns, and it's like 2, and I fell down the 2. And he said, well, at least you didn't fall down the 12. That's good. So, anyways, I'm sorry to do this. But tomorrow is Tuesday. What time can I expect you? Okay. that's great. So you want to check for 211, right? 219. Well, okay. You know what? I can do 219. 219 is fine. I told my brother-in-law 211. He wrote me a check for 211. So it's my fault. I don't know why I thought it was 211, but I said, yeah, give me 211. I can handle 8. That's all right. It was my sister's like worried. She says, go without food. And it's like that's gonna kill me. But it's nice to have family looking out for you. You know what I mean? Okay, so you're gonna call me tomorrow when? A little bit after 8. Okay, I'll charge my phone up. I'll keep it by the bed. And can I write the check now? Yeah, I'll just I'll write the check then. I haven't written it yet, but so I'll be sure to write the right amount, which is 219. And a personal check's okay? Not a problem. Okay, thank you. Bye bye. So sorry about that. So they're installing a dishwasher tomorrow. I don't know. That might be interesting. Maybe I shouldn't put that up. That's personal stuff. Did I put my address? Did I say my name? I'm getting a dishwasher tomorrow. In the real world. How much money do I have in my account? And I did fall down the stairs. I hope they don't put me in a home. Well, anyways, he's captured by Hamas. Then the IDF gets him, and I don't know the details yet, but I'm thinking he's just going to end up on the beach in Tel Aviv, thinking he still doesn't know how he's going to get back to his planet, thinking, this could be worse. You know, I guess you could think that maybe he'd become a champion for the rights of whoever the person, the poor persecuted people of Gaza, become an adamant Zionist. But I mean, he does what is really the logical thing to do. He doesn't become an advocate for anything. He just thinks, you know what, this planet is just as it because in the universe, Earth is a nice planet to go on vacation. You've got the Riviera, you've got Nice, you've got Switzerland. You want to go skiing in the Alps. The Vatican City is a big draw. It's very nice. The Taj Mahal. All the things we like to see, they like to see. Some people like to go and see Cambodia because they think that communism, it seems like such a silly idea. Of course it wouldn't work. That Earth people actually would try something that stupid. Nazism makes sense to them, but obviously that's problematic because one group tries to wipe everybody else out. But that's basically human nature, is what aliens think. This is the logical thing. The fact that they thought they could make everybody equal was a little strange. The French Revolution was a little strange, and it makes no shock to them that the place that really works the best on Earth is Singapore, because that's most like the universe. It's a place with a small government that's very business oriented. The government does play quite a significant. Everybody lives in public housing. Only in Singapore you have to work. In space you don't, because robots do all the work. It's quite unequal. It's a very meritocratic, a merit society based on merit. So that if you can ruthlessly, wiggle your way up the squeaky pole, whatever you take, you go for it, baby, and you don't worry about anybody else. You worry about number one, and the only time you think about the other guy is to make sure that he doesn't come and bop you over. It's just to basically keep the peasants in line. That's what the welfare planets are all about. It's just to keep people, give them just enough they won't rebel. And Singapore, it's a very an entrepreneurial place. The government owns a lot of the economy and sovereign wealth funds, and they've got the Provident Trust, and they do have a social security system, mandatory savings, public housing. They'll have a government house for you, but it's clean and it's neat and it's well kept up. So in the universe, Singapore is the ideal, or some place like Switzerland that they think, well, that's great. But that's not the whole planet. The United States is kind of, to them, they think that's kind of a crazy failed state social experiment, that the whole liberty thing. And Scandinavia is like, that's an outlier to them too, because it's trying that equality thing again, democracy and equality, and they're just amazed that it works as well as it does. So people like to visit Scandinavia. They're fascinated by the same things that our journalists are, our liberal elite is. I guess there's a liberal elite in space. But there's no such thing as social, like they're radical anarchists that kind of separate and take over little planets. But nobody wants a universe based on socialism, because there's so many different races and species, so many different intellects. Everybody realized that the whole trying to make everybody equal thing is just dumb. And so people come to Earth to see. They actually tried it. There's this place called China that's still communist. I mean, they're not really communist, but they're still trying to make this dumbass idea work. Justice, equality. What a joke. So he ends up on a beach in Tel Aviv sipping a pina colada or whatever. Is there a Jewish cocktail? Let's look it up. Whatever. Thinking he doesn't care that the people in Gaza or West Bank are being persecuted, because that's just the way the universe is. It's not like the other thing that he finds really amusing is the whole God's chosen people thing, that the United States manifests that God gave him the land. No, they had guns and they had disease and they had an army and they just wiped out anybody living there because they wanted the land. It had nothing to do with God. If there is a God, he probably didn't think that was a nice thing to do. And of course, in space, someone tried to prove there was a God and find it, but it wasn't actually God. It was just this race of beings that had been turned into pure energy because they'd been around for so long. But they weren't really gods. They just conned people into thinking they were gods. They've been around since the advent of the Big Bang, and they're kind of like a cloud of electrons, and they last really long. Dying for them is like, it's very rare. It's a very rare thing to do. You gotta really do something stupid to actually die. Let's look. Is this anti-Semitic Jewish cocktail? Cocktails popular in Israel. Let's look here. Cocktails with chutzpah. 3 Jewish cocktails to make. Wine enthusiast. Okay, so it's not anti-Semitic. There is such a thing. Cocktails with chutzpah. 3 Jewish cocktails to make you forget Manischewitz. A culture of wine and spirits runs deep with the Jewish custom and celebration. Blah, blah, blah. Naomi Levy. Okay. Akko Candelicus. 3/4 lemon juice, 1/2 honey syrup, 1 teaspoon amaretto, 1/4 apricot liquor, a 1.5 ounce olive gin. Olive gin? Olive for garnish. Directions. Combine all ingredients in a cocktail shaker with ice. Shake until well combined. So he's drinking an Akko Candelicus on the beach. That sounds interesting. I like pina coladas, but let's just say he's trying to fit in. That's what he's trying to do. He's just trying to fit in, because this might be it for him. And he does have some skills. He goes to work for a travel agency in Tel Aviv, helping Jews come to Israel. Now, he saw the suffering of the people in Gaza, and he realized that it's an unequal match. You've got tanks and jet planes against people with handheld weapons. And it's a real David Goliath bloodbath. And who started it, who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, claiming that some moldy old book of religion, and this isn't me, well, this is kind of me, saying gave you the land, or because you lived here 2,000 years ago. My family lived in Alsace-Lorraine 200 years ago. I went back for a visit. What am I going to do? Walk into because we were vintners, back to our old vintners and say, we were kicked off the land because the German and the French were fighting. You're going to have to give this back to me. They put me in the booby hatch. But yet, that seems to be a logical argument for the people of Israel that they were there 2,500, or when did they get kicked out by the Romans? Was it 50? Alexa, when was the Jewish diaspora?
I don't know that one.
Oh, God, you're useless. Alexa, when was the Jewish diaspora?
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, God, you're useless. Okay, Jewish diaspora. Okay, maybe it wasn't 2,005 years ago. I should get my facts right. Jewish diaspora, definition. Generating. Okay. Jewish diaspora is the dispersion of Jews from their ancestral homeland in the land of Israel. The term also refers to the subsequent settlement of Jews in other parts of the world. The Jewish diaspora is also known as exile in Hebrew. The term diaspora refers to a large group of people who share a cultural, regional origin but live away from their traditional homeland. Diasporas can come through immigration and forced movements of people. Jewish diaspora began a long history. Today there are large... Okay, but when? When was it? When? It's like a long time ago. It was about the time of Jesus, wasn't it? Maybe a little after Jesus? 50. I'm going to say 50 AD, so you don't think I'm a complete idiot. Okay, diaspora Jews thus far outnumbered the Jews in Palestine, even before the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 CE. Thereafter, the chief centers of Judaism shifted from country to country: Babylonia, Persia, Spain, France, Germany, Poland, Russia. So 70 CE, that's like, okay, some submerging themselves in non-Jewish environments more completely than others. While some lived in peace, others became victims of violent anti-Semitism. Okay, so after 2,000 years, you decide you're going to move back. And there's someone living on your land because some book says so. Okay, so this guy's from another planet. He's laughing. He thinks religion is as crazy as socialism, that there's some God that gave you the land. That's the biggest con. You want to live there? Fine. You got an army, you took the land. Mazel tov. That's his attitude. You're stronger than they were. But he does, as an alien, he doesn't get this God gave this land to me. This great and nation land to me. Because God likes me and thinks that you're a schmuck. So I get to live here and you got to live in a ghetto. And we're going to drop bombs on it and kill all your kids because God likes us and he doesn't like you. Kind of like we did to the Native Americans, and we enslaved blacks, and we think we're so great because God wanted us to do that. God loves us and wants us to treat everybody else like shit. I mean, it's kind of cynical. I a lot of this anti-white stuff now, it's like, I didn't do that to you. I didn't wipe you out, your natives. Although my family, I don't think they wiped anybody out. I think it was like they'd clear the Indians before we came. It was just like trees. And we were poor as shit. And we just thought, you know what? No one's going to give us anything. We came here because we're poor and we're starving and we just want a better life. We don't even know what an Indian is. And we're not we're not like white privilege. We're not privileged. We're Catholics. They hate us. What did they used to say about the Irish? At least the Negroes keep their houses clean. They used to say things like that. Again, I'm not saying that, but that's what the Anglo-Saxons used to say. At least the Negro will keep his house clean. He knows to keep his house clean. But these Catholics, they're dirty people. And the mafia, they used to say things like that about my ancestors, but we didn't want them saying bad things about us, so we worked hard and we chopped down all the trees and we built a life for ourselves because we're not dirty and lazy people. We're decent. We proved it. We proved it. Like Ireland is wealthy now and Singapore. See, you were wrong about us. We proved through our action that we're good Americans and we assimilated. But are we horrible genocidal maniacs because we decided to come over here? We were poor. We didn't have shit. Okay, we didn't. This land, God gave this land to me. This brave and ancient land. I gotta find the name of this song. For I am just a man, and God wants me to live here, and He wants you to go someplace else. Please fuck off. I don't care if you lived here 2,000 years and you've had this little olive farm. See this book? It's the Bible, and it says that in the Holocaust. I know you didn't have anything to do with the Holocaust, but you're going to have to move. You're going to have to move. I'm from Poland. I'm actually from Brooklyn, but this is my land because 2,000 years ago Jews used to live here. So it's my land now. And people fall for this shit. This is what the alien's thinking. Now, this is kind of what I think, too. It sounds anti-Semitic, so you can't say that. You cannot come out and say, you've got to be kidding. You're conning people. You're away for 2,000 years. Now you think you want to come back? The alien's thinking, okay, why make an excuse? You want this land? You think it's nice? And somebody in your family used to live here 2,000 years ago? To an alien, 2,000 years is not that long. And besides, they've kind of got limited time travel, so time doesn't really mean the same thing to them. Yeah, okay, you used to live here 2,000 years ago. But to say God gave you this land, I mean, that's obviously a con. This land, God gave this land to me. Exodus song by Pat Boone. 1960 original version. Pat Boone. By Pat Boone? Alexa, how old is Pat Boone? Is he still alive?
Pat Boone is still alive. He is 89 years old.
He's old. Okay, Alexa, when was Pat Boone born?
Pat Boone was born on June 1st, 1934.
Ripple effects and mainly in some areas. East Africa's hearing on the edge of the F word.
Famine. The F word.
This land.
Oh, you did have a nice voice.
Oh, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is...
Why, we can't do that. Sorry, Dr. Grande. I'll watch that later. So anyways, with this alien sitting on the beach in Tel Aviv, he's got no problem with the Israeli people. He understands their mindset. We're here now. We like it. It's our land. Look what we've done with it. We built this. We built that. We get a little money from the Americans, but we were smart enough to take over their government. And the alien thinks, does that make them bad people? That makes them operators. That's the way the universe works. You look out for number one, and you try to look out for your own interests. But the thing is, in the universe, that's not considered a bad thing. People just kind of accept that's how the universe works. And some people go, yeah, let's try to be a little less crass. And then there are radicals that kind of say, we don't want anything part of this. We're going to make our own little anarchistic community and be separate from all of this. Just leave us alone. Kind of libertarian anarchist. But the whole thing of socialism is something in the universe that's like everybody's equal. Everybody has a part, a democratic part in running a business. The fact that anybody would think that would work to an alien or to his species, maybe he's kind of like the Ferengi or something. It's just nuts that anybody would think that you could make the average common human being equal and put him in charge. I mean, they kind of think democracy's stupid. They're amazed that works as well as it does. Because in the universe, it's kind of like Singapore. There's kind of democracy. People kind of vote. But it's much more accepted that the people on top, the gun lobby, the Jewish lobby, the rich lobby, the oil lobby, they run things. And they're entitled to. He doesn't understand why everybody hates the Jews. It's like, look how smart they are. I mean, they were put upon. People didn't like them, so they put upon them. So they found a way to get around that. So you look how mean you were to us. So you should let us run. He thinks that's the greatest con in the world. He says that's the way the universe works. If there were Jews in space, Jews would fit right in. Because how is that not right? I mean, they're just trying to, everybody's an operator, everybody's a hustler, everybody's just trying to get by. And if you want it's like the sort of a mafia mentality. Unions kind of have a mafia mentality the Teamsters mentality is something that aliens understand too. We want our cut. We don't get our cuts, we're going to make life very unpleasant for you. But the whole idea that there's justice or religion or that God gave you this land or that you're not playing fair. Who plays fair? What's fair? We got an army. You tried to kill us. Now we're going to wipe you out. He gets that. And he doesn't understand why everybody's so upset. They were attacked. He kind of gets the Nazis too, though. So it's like, maybe they went a little bit too far. I mean, obviously that's not good for business. They went a little bit. The Roman Empire, he thought that was great too. You got to be practical. And then the Nazis weren't practical. They were so, never hate your enemy, it affects your judgment. They were so, I'll give you an example. When the Nazis went into the Ukraine, his army leaders said to him, look, the people are greeting us with salt and flowers and honey, and they love us. We're liberating them, because Stalin was a bastard. And because he tried this equal thing, which is, Stalin was a gangster. The only way you can make everybody equal is to have a very totalitarian government and kind of wipe out, mow society down. They kind of do that in Denmark too. Nobody is supposed to poke their head up. But the way that the Danish and the Scandinavians do is they don't kill people, and they don't even tell you can't make money. It's like it has to be the appearance. You have to act like you're no better than anybody else. You can't. Ostentatious displays of wealth are frowned upon. Bragging about yourself is frowned upon. They don't arrest you and stick you in a gulag because you're bragging. But it's just not done. It's not polite etiquette. But it's not totalitarian. It's cultural. It's part of their culture. It's a we, not a me. We all work together. It's from Lutheranism. So that's why it works in Scandinavia and communism doesn't work, because you're not sticking a bayonet in somebody when they break the rules. Maybe the tax man comes and knocks on your door, or maybe your neighbors shun you, but it's like with the Amish. They just shun you. They don't throw rocks at you or burn you at the stake. They just won't have anything to do with you. Which, let's face it, is a lot more humane than drowning somebody or burning them at the stake. I mean, it might be nasty and cruel, but it works better. Still, he doesn't get that. He doesn't get the way the world... He loves the Italians. He understands corruption. Greece. That makes sense to him. He understands Singapore because that's a society that weeds out corruption for practical reasons, not because honesty has some intrinsic value. That's a religion. I think the only socialism he really observes once he's here that he seems to like is sewer socialism in Milwaukee, because that was practical. They kept the streets clean. They made sure that public sanitation was good. They reduced pollution. They built public housing. They made society run well. So you could actually, ironically enough, Milwaukee was a good place to do business because crime was low. You weren't going to be extorted by the mafia. And it was just a well-run city. He understands that. But the one thing he does get is corruption is nice, but sometimes it interferes with practicality. It's like we try to get rid of corruption in the intergalactic universe. Corruption's kind of like our socialism. It's like anarcho-capitalism to them would be the ideal system. But they realize that there are limits to it because you end up with Somalia and the mafia running things. So it's like, it would be a great system, but it doesn't work. So they look at government as an absolute necessary but evil thing. It's a necessary evil. and evil nonetheless. But the idea that the government should run everything, that's the thing they don't like about the Nazis. It was totalitarian. You can't have the government run everything because it's going to cause some problems. And in communism, it became very inefficient and the system just shut down and people starved. And in Nazism, it was just like they had this, so obsessed with this idea that they were better than everybody else, that they could do anything, that they just started wiping everybody out. The Jews just want Israel. He thinks, this is a tiny little country. All they want is a little sliver. What's the big deal? And there's no boo-hooing with him about people suffering in Gaza, because that's just the way it is. And the whole idea of collective punishment, again, with him, that's the ideal. It's not a bad thing. It's like, well, of course, if you're a member of a group and the group attacks you, you punish the whole group. But that can lead to excesses. So even though ideally that would be a way to do it, it eventually leads to carnage, and you can't have that. In our society, it's just the opposite. It's something that we want to fight, because collectively punishing everybody is considered profoundly immoral and unjust. It was profoundly immoral and unjust to collectively punish the Jews. It would have been profoundly impractical. See, the thing that we didn't collectively punish Germany is we realized how counterproductive. We didn't want them, these smart warlike people who are perfectly capable of destroying the world coming after us in 50 years. So we were nice to them, and we let them, become an industrial power. And once you're prosperous, you don't want to kill everybody. And it worked. That was pretty smart, because Germany is like everybody's ally. It's one of Israel's, because they feel profoundly guilty. He doesn't get the guilt thing. He says, "All right, you made a mistake with the killing the Jews, because you would have got the bomb, and it wasn't really, didn't make a lot of sense, and it was kind of mean, but nothing to feel guilty about. This is what societies do. They lose their temper." The whole thing about collective guilt he gets. You go after the whole group. He kind of gets the Holocaust. People didn't like the Jews, so they wanted to wipe them out. That's kind of something in the universe that's impractical, but because there's so many different species and they're all trying to wipe each other out, it's not practical. Here, they kind of find humans amazing, that we say, this is terrible. We should all live as brothers and be equal and share the land. We all know how practical that is. That's our ideal. Their ideal is, go for it, baby. Take whatever you can get. If you're strong and you're smarter than another group, of course, those are the people that should be running things. Now, the people on the bottom, they don't like that, and they're going to fight back. But that makes sense too. So you have to come to some kind of understanding. But it's nothing to feel guilty about. You were on top. That's just normal human nature. You did rotten things. That's what people do. The thing that gets him and makes him think, God, planet Earth is this weird place, is that the Europeans actually felt guilty and had developed they have this concept of justice, that we shouldn't have done that to them. We should try to make some sort of redemption, treat them fairly, do away with slavery, kind of compensate people for our wrongs. The alien is kind of like, I don't know, there's not a massive culture from his culture or from the culture in the universe. You know what your reparations are? You survived. It's all over now, and you survived. Count your lucky blessings that they didn't wipe you out. So the Old Testament, I think, kind of makes sense to him. The New Testament being forgiving your enemies, turning the other cheek. He thinks that is probably why the planet is still violent. This idea that you should feel bad about what you did. It's just like, all right, you know what? This isn't working. Commerce. Just everybody commerce. Fighting, it's like the mafia. Fighting is bad for business. It's bad for business. Don't do it. And he thinks that this idea that we are so profoundly immoral and cruel and criminal, we did these horrible things, we're so sorry, and people get angry, They want revenge. The whole thing about revenge, I think he thinks, is why the planet is really so violent, even though there are nice little bits here and there. It's because people want revenge, and there's a lot less of that in the universe, because people think, all right, we lost, we're lucky to be survived. Kind of like what Ireland is doing now. The best revenge is living well. That's the aliens' attitude. We lost the war. Let's just concentrate on making a nice home for ourselves. And I guess that's right. But forget about this. Your ancestors raped my great great grandmother, and throwing bombs at each other, and this has been going on. The thing about the Middle East he doesn't get is, why is this been going on? This fighting with the Philistines, why has this fighting been going on for so long? I mean, the present modern debacle, since the Nachbach, since the infestation, or the creation of the state of Israel in the heart of this Muslim world, which they consider colonialism. What does he think about that? They want a home. Everybody's got a home. The Jews don't want to be just a religion. They want to be a people. This is a land that historically they had some sort of affinity with. The religion. The religion was here. Now, if you're a Roman Catholic and you're in Poland, are you the same thing as a Roman Catholic in Italy? And so you want to have the Vatican? It's like Jews spread out all over the world as a religion. But I guess the Vatican is like holy to all Catholics, right? Alexa, how big is the Vatican? It's like a couple acres.
The Vatican is about 109 acres, 0.2 square miles, in size.
Alexa, how many people live in the Vatican?
The population of Vatican City is restricted to around 800 people, including the clergy and Swiss guards.
So that's the Catholic Empire. A couple square blocks in Rome. And a lot of people look and they say, well, you're a religion, all right? What do you got to have a country for? But the Jews say, no, we've been persecuted everywhere we go. We're a people. It's not just a religion. It's a little bit of both. It's funny, they're using the definition that the Nazis says, well, they're not a religion, they're a race, and we hate them and we want to wipe them out. So basically, the religious Jew says, no. We are not a race, we're a religion. We're people that follow the words of God. It's subservience to God. And the Torah says that we are forbidden a homeland till the Messiah comes. We're in exile. Zionists were not religious Jews. They kind of made this whole idea that the Jews were a nation or the Jews were a race up, but they had help from evangelical Protestants. And this isn't just in the United States. This goes back to like the 16th or 17th century, Protestants reading the Bible and saying, the Messiah came back and Jews have to go to Israel, because I guess it says something like that in the New Testament. That's like a prophecy. God only knows what was originally written, but that's what they wanted. They wanted the Jews to return. Kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, actually. For centuries, they've been egging this thing on. And the Zionists said, yeah, let's go back. Protestants have a great idea. Protestants, they're the ones that wiped out all the Native Americans. They're the ones enslaved. But again, the alien's saying, the Protestant work ethic, they work and they make money, What's wrong with that? And then they had this land that the Native Americans were just kind of like a bunch of hippies. They weren't really doing anything with it, and they were in the way. Manifest destiny. That was cute. People have rights. He's like George Carlin. People have rights. That's a cute con. The natural rights. He's more. I think the intergalactic universe is more like Thomas Hobbes and not like John Locke or Voltaire. It's kind of like Thomas Hobbes or Machiavelli. Without government, the world would be nasty, brutish, and short. You need a government to keep things in place. This whole idea that God gave you the land, you wanted it, you took it. Own it. you're a bastard. Everybody's a bastard. It's like Nietzsche. All great societies are based on cruelty, and it's not just, it's a necessary evil. It's like, this is what our society's based on. Alexa, what's my notification?
One new notification. From Amazon Shopping. Household supplies has arrived.
What did I get? Do I have toilet paper? I don't know. Maybe toilet paper. Okay, so I got to be up tomorrow for the installation. Maybe I should clean up a little bit. God. All right. I could get in trouble for that too. All right. I'm tired. I've been talking too long. So, anyways, this alien is like the universe is Machiavellian. It's Hobbesian. It's not John Locke. It's not Voltaire, Montesquieu. It's not Rousseau. The natural state of man is, shall I kill thee or shall thou kill me? And everybody accepts that. And it's like Nietzsche. If you don't like to be oppressed, then don't take it. Just don't accept it. Maybe they'll wipe you out, but at least you won't be a slave. If you don't want to be a slave, don't be a slave. Fight back. But the whole idea that somebody owes you justice or should treat you the way that they want to be treated, the whole, golden rule thing, it's almost laughable to them. I mean, people have tried it over the centuries and eons and millions of years in the universe, and it's just a dumb idea. You're like a rube. Someone's going to kill you. Those societies last for a little while, and then they're taken over by societies that are a lot more based on ruthless sort of mafia morals. And to him, he doesn't understand why people think the mafia is such a bad thing. It's like, it's a business organization. People are trying to make money. They come in and they shake you down. What are they supposed to do? That's. And if you don't like it, you break out a gun and you kill them first. It's a Wild West. He doesn't understand what the big deal is about. Israel's this big bad place. It's pretty little. They want the land. This weaker, primitive society is resisting. The fact that Israel tried to make peace with them is a little confusing to him. And now they're in the process of wiping them out. And the whole world's so upset, and he doesn't understand why. The only thing he's concerned about is, if the whole world's coming after the Jews, does he want to be a Jew? But he looks around Tel Aviv. He's rescued by the IDF. They seem confused. They don't know who he is. Now, there are people in positions of power in the United States, like Men in Black, that know that aliens come here. And they come and they say, look, we could perform medical experiments on you, but we've done that to your kind. We know what you're all about. We know that you're kind of like the Ferengi. Your people are kind of like the mafia. You like making money, So you're probably going to be very happy here in Israel, surrounded by. He's a bigoted, waspy sort of FBI agent. He says, "Look, it's kind of embarrassing because the media made, we rescued this Jew. Nobody can find you, and it's like they think, is he a Mossad agent? Nobody really knows who this guy is." But he says, it's dying down now. As long as you behave yourself and go to work for a travel agency or write your crazy stories about the universe, and I know you think that it's a tell-all, but no one's going to really believe it. It's too crazy. We know it's true, but it's like the National Enquirer. Go ahead. We're not even going to try to silence you because telling the truth is just so nuts. If you want to go to the United States, we'd rather you just stay here in Israel and do software, do travel agents, fit into the society. We'll create a history for you. We can't really get in touch with anybody, and nobody seems to want you back and shooting you back because it's an embarrassment that your boss has been arrested. He was embezzled, and it's an embarrassment to the intergalactic guild or whatever that something like this would happen. So they want to cover it up. They don't want you back. We don't want you. So he ends up spending the rest of his life drinking pina coladas or cocktails on the beach, writing crazy stories about the universe. Oh God, I lost it. Oh, there we go. Crazy stories about the universe, and oh my God, see, my computer's dying. He started a travel agency, a software company, because technology is a little more advanced in the universe, and that's the one thing they warned him about. You're kind of from a future, or from because time travel's a little bit nebulous in the universe. You're from somewhere other than here, out in space, in a different place, different time. The one thing we want you to be, they obviously realize that he's not that bright, is the only reason that we're going to have a problem with you is if you start inventing things that are just too advanced, like a nuclear fusion implosion device that rips a hole in the time-space continuum and creates a black hole. We don't want you to do anything like that. So nothing. If you want to tinker with software and make it a little faster, or make an app, you're obviously doing well. Do it. But he's not concerned that even though he saw this terrible suffering going on in Gaza, and he was held by Hamas, so that's probably a reason why he's a little bit callous. He doesn't care. This is the way he realizes this is the way the universe was, and the way that they stopped this was commerce. There's a government. It maintains order. It's a night watchman society. Labor disputes are settled by private arbitrators. Any welfare state is kind of like Singapore, where they make you put your own money in an account. There's very little redistribution in the universe. Very little. It's like Hong Kong. Nobody can understand the whole concept of redistribution or equality. It's not even a nice idea. It's just kind of silly. It's just really silly to them. And the idea that the strong would not take advantage of the weak is also kind of a silly and practical idea. The people of Israel think this land is theirs. They got kicked off of it. They were gone for 2,000 years. Okay, on an ethical level, he's trying to understand ethics. Being gone for 2,000 years, that's not a legitimate thing. You're just gone. Tough titties. But what he does understand is these people want this land so bad and believe so strongly it's theirs. That makes it legitimate. They want to be here. They got a hold of some weapons and they conquered. It's like, help us. The French, I don't know. Let's leave the French out of this. The French helped us. We wouldn't have a country if it wasn't for the French. But they did most of this fighting their own, and they won. So to the alien, it's like, it's a dog-eat-dog world, man. He doesn't understand that God gave us this, because the whole concept, the one thing about the universe that we're right about is religion is just considered something very quaint. Another thing that's considered quaint is the idea of equality. That's something that came and went to them, and they realized it just is silly to them. The whole idea that people would share in like a commune, that's something dirty hippies do, or primitive people do. The ideal universe is the whole universe is basically the way Hong Kong used to be. Hong Kong, maybe like Switzerland, very limited government. The main, if there's any sort of ideal in the universe, it's to fight corruption. It's the fight between corruption and honesty. Corruption is considered. Some people think corruption is just not only to be condoned, but corruption's good. It's like that's how the little guy gets ahead. He extorts money, and corruption's considered their socialism. They now that's going to get me in trouble by comparing socialism as a form of corruption, but that's their justice is breaking the rules and taking a little more of the pie than the rules say you're entitled to. And the other is that's not efficient. That's going to bleed the system. A healthy system, people are honest because that's how a system works, not because there's an intrinsic moral value to honesty like we do. They don't understand. They think that the fact that we're obsessed with morals makes us less moral because, he's breaking the laws, we can punish him. It's just not realistic. And he thinks that's why our society's kind of being held back. So he likes living in Israel, and he's got no problem with living on occupied land because there's no such thing as occupied land. The land belongs. The land belongs to whoever is strong enough. Exodus song. This land belongs to me because I got a bigger army than yours, and I'm just going to take it. All right. So if you don't like that, that's too bad. You get your army, but the only thing the aliens think is the only reason they don't do this anymore is because it's just not practical. It's just not practical. Having now here's a song. Only this is Andy Williams. Okay. All right, stop. I don't want to get a copyright infringement. All right, we stopped. All right, but that's the song. Trying to do two things at once. So I got to be ready tomorrow. I got to be ready, and I got to write a check. Big deal. I got to write a check. So I think that's how the story's going to end. Is he's just people are expecting him to have some to take sides. You know, he's going to become a champion of the Palestinian people because of their horrible suffering, or he's going to realize that the Jews were put upon by this horrible terrorist organization and become profoundly dedicated to being a Jewish person because he's just like stuck here. But he's talking to the agency that's here, and he says, I don't understand this whole concept of justice. Justice is what works. You don't want corruption because it's bad for business. In our world, corruption is the impractical ideology, like socialism. The way you get justice is to steal. That's our justice. That's our impractical ideology. Is corruption, taking a little here, taking a little there, taking more than you deserve. That's our justice. The whole idea that you can collectively redistribute is, we kind of look at that the way you look at the mafia. It's just, how could anybody think that would work or be healthy for society? It's not even immoral. It's just stupid. And the whole idea of I'm going to take sides. I'm an alien. They're suffering. Okay, life is tough. I'm sorry they're suffering. I'm sorry the Jews are suffering. Am I going to get emotionally? He says, I don't understand why you think I should get emotionally involved in this conflict. I'm not. Tel Aviv's a nice place to live. There's some hip places here. There are a lot of cafes. I can run a nice internet business here. I can do travel agency stuff. I can make software. I can write my science fiction stories. I can do my own zine. So I'm going to be sort of a hipster, you know. But I'm a sociopath because the universe is sociopathic, and I will fly the Israeli flag because that's how it's going to benefit me. I don't care. I don't understand. The thing he doesn't understand is why the whole world is so bent out of shape. The whole world is on fire, and everybody's concerned about this little tiny ghetto called Gaza. And he can understand that, you know, genocide would probably not be a good thing to do, simply because logically people are gonna want revenge, even though to him revenge is, it's just not sensible. But he could understand that. He says, you don't do this simply because it's going to make you look bad. But justice? He was the kind of guy that was just at a job. He did the basic minimum. He went home. He watched their equivalent of television. He liked to watch TV. He played a game similar to golf. Went bowling. Intergalactic bowling. He had a beat up little space car. It's like a micro car because he's on a space station. He went down on the asteroid. He didn't have much of a life. Didn't have a lot of ambition because his place was very mediocre. And now he has a chance here to actually make something of himself, to start these little travel agency businesses. He has experience in that. His stories, he's a little smarter than the average human being. He can write his based on reality, which everybody's going to think is nuts. And what else? Oh, yeah, software. But they keep telling him you can't do anything. It's like the man who fell to earth. You can't do anything too crazy, because if you do, you're gonna do the butterfly effect thing, and you're gonna mess up the balance. But they realize he's not, as far as aliens go, he's not the sharpest knife in the kitchen rack there. There's no chance he's coming up with anything too advanced, which is good for him, because if he did, they'd probably just squash him like a bug, or stick him in Area 54 and perform medical experiments on him until he explodes. But he's no threat. He's kind of an embarrassment to the aliens. He's kind of an embarrassment to, because they made a fuss about him. They just says, if you can keep a low profile and keep your human form, how's your translator doing? He says, yeah, I can figure. I don't need it so much anymore, but yeah, it kind of works, and I can kind of make it work, but I'll be okay. And as far as holding a form, that's the thing about aliens. When we go from one society to the other, we have to cosmetically fit in. So my species, that was our big advantage. We're chameleons. We're good at fitting in and getting by. But I think at the end of the whole, I'm not going to make if I make this story, the message is going to be, you could be devoted to one side or the other, but in the end, to the individual, it's all just about survival. We're just all trying to survive here. And the people of Israel are trying to survive. They might have gone a little too far with the bombing of Gaza. The people of Gaza want their land back. But it's not a matter of who's right or who's wrong. It's just a matter of self-interest. Of course the Palestinians want their land back. Of course the people of Israel don't want to give their land back, because they've tried to share, and they realize the Palestinians want to kill them. There's just no solution to this. He realizes that. It's just a matter of people of the earth not realizing that commerce, like the whole universe should look like Singapore or Hong Kong. People should be able to realize by this time that fighting is bad for business. It's not a matter of it's profoundly immoral. It's just not good for business. That's his attitude. But the other thing he understands is people want to survive. The Palestinians want to survive, fine. The Jews want to survive. So, of course, they got the tank. They were smart. They got the tanks. They got the superior army. They guilted the Western world. Look what you did to me. You tried to wipe us out like bugs. Give us money so we can build this army. He thinks that's smart. You want to survive. That was good. You want to survive. So you did that. No harm, no foul. It'd be nice if you could live in peace, which is, he sees like Ireland is they've become a commercial place. That's good. The best revenge is living well. They realize they stop the fighting there. It's not for moral reasons. It's just simply for practical reasons. He kind of realizes that this thing is never going to end. He finds it kind of amusing that they think it's God doing this when it's really, to him, he's smart enough as an alien to realize this is just a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's happening because they wanted it. They want it to happen. There's like some collective insanity in the human race that eventually they want to destroy themselves. His only concern is that in his lifetime they don't. So does he feel conflicted about living in Israel and having a comfortable life? No, he supports he becomes a Zionist because living in Israel is a lot better than living in Palestine, and he just wants to survive, and he's a chameleon, and he's just going to fit in. And I don't know if that's the message of the story or not, but that's what it's going to kind of be. It's like people just act on their self-interest. The Palestinian people want to survive, so they're fighting. Is Hamas a profoundly terrible thing? Maybe. I honestly think that was terrible. Do I also think it's terrible that they're bombing hospitals? And I have my doubts about whether Hamas was there. I think they just want to torture these people. Did Netanyahu let this happen? I think he might have dropped the ball on purpose to deflect from all his political problems and his criminal problems. And a lot of those people in those kibbutzes are lefties, and he doesn't. They're his enemies. So what if 2,000 or 3,000 of them get killed, or what was it, 1,200? Whatever the number is, numbers. How many Palestinians have they killed so far? 10, 15,000? Who knows? To the alien, this is just, it's not it doesn't depress him. It's just like he realizes this is part of the flaw in the human nature. They hate each other, they pick sides, and they kill each other. There are a few places in the world like Singapore, Hong Kong, Switzerland, maybe even Denmark, because Denmark's a good place to do business. The taxes are just a little too high. That have got it right. Commerce, honesty, efficiency. That's good. Making money is, he's like a Ferengi. That's what life is about. Life is about making money and dying with lots of toys. The whole thing about the Middle East, it's not that the Jews are evil or the Palestinians are evil. It's that both sides are too stupid to put their differences aside and find some way to get along so that they can make money. That's his attitude. But they can't. There's nothing you can do about it. That's just human nature. Israel has a good economy. He's got a good life. It's got a rule of law. He thinks he kind of gets Netanyahu. Netanyahu's corrupt. He's in power. Everything works right. Do I think? I think he's a villain. I think Netanyahu's a villain simply because he's bad for the Jewish people. He's brought Israeli society to the brink. And he's also slaughtering Palestinians. Do I think Palestinians deserve to be slaughtered? Hell no. Did the people of Dresden deserve to be incinerated because they supported the Nazis? And I think a lot of Germans did. I don't think people actively supported the Nazis. I don't think the people of Gaza actively support Hamas. A lot of them did because Hamas did social welfare things. They liked Hamas for reasons other than the fact that they wanted to destroy Israel. They just wanted to have a life, and the Hamas wasn't corrupt, and they did a lot of social welfare things. So to say that the people of Hamas, the people that support Hamas are evil, it's like, were the Germans evil for supporting the Nazis? Maybe, yes. I'd say yes and no. Again, like Hamas, they wanted revenge for World War I. The Germans were screwed. They weren't responsible for World War I, but they were held responsible. They wanted revenge. They went a little bit too far. They went nuts supporting Hitler. Hitler gave them their pride back, and he gave them a better life. It's understandable why they would go along with that. Now, I'm not saying that Hitler is a great guy. I'm not saying Netanyahu is a great guy. I'm not saying Hamas is great. But this is what the alien's thinking. This is the flaw in humanity. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is just human nature to do this, to get in power and then wipe out the other guy out. The Germans did it. The Jews are doing it now. What he didn't get was communism. He got Stalin, though. He looked at it and he said, as bad as corruption is, and as bad as the fascists were, who killed the most? Now, whether this is true or not, this is what we're true, this is what the alien accepts. The one idea that caused the most human suffering on this planet was the idea that everybody is equal and the common man should run thing. Communism. Because it's just profoundly, to him it is even profoundly evil. It's nuts. Why people would think that would work to him is laughable. And that is really, really the profound immorality or the profound stupidity of the human race. That they look at things and say they should be better. He realizes, living in a very ancient universe, things never get better. People just, if you want to make your way in the world, you just got to survive. And that's all the Jews are doing. They're just trying to survive. That's all the Palestinians are doing, is trying to survive. All the West is trying to do is trying to maintain dominance, because that's what, like Nietzsche said, all great societies are based on cruelty, on extolling cruelty as a virtue, sadism as a virtue, not as a necessary evil. What he doesn't get about Europeans and white people and why he thinks they're going to go down is they feel guilty. It's like, you should be grateful that we stopped oppressing you or dominating you. You want to rule yourselves? Good, prove it. But just shut up about that we were so mean to you. You realize we could have just wiped you out. You realize that if we wanted to, you'd still be in that position. We're perfectly capable of doing that to you again. So just shut up and try to fit in. That's the alien talking, not necessarily me. Although sometimes I kind of feel that way. It's like, we did all these great things. Technology, jets, cars, the internet, television, modern medicine. But we're evil because we dominated societies? Who didn't? We just came out on top. That was our crime. We committed 2 crimes. 1, we won, and 2, we were stupid enough to feel guilty about it and say, we're sorry, we're going to try to make amends. And everybody going, ooh, now we got them. We got these white people feeling guilty. Now, should we feel guilty? Maybe a little, but I think we've gone overboard with the guilt. The alien's sitting there going, how can anybody so smart be so freaking stupid? What they should be telling him is, look how nice we are. We're better than you, but we're trying to be fair with you. Just start a business and compete on an equal footing. You have that right now. You should be thanking us. He doesn't get why the world is obsessed with this idea of justice and equality and vengeance. He understands vengeance, he does, but he doesn't understand why humanity doesn't get how destructive that is. You've got to fight destructive urges. Like, ooh, boy, I would really like to have sex with that underage girl. You fight that because that's going to get you put in jail. I mean, that's what gets people in trouble is they act on these illegitimate urges. Like, I'll give you an example. Like Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein should have known better. Harvey Weinstein should have known better. Roy Moore should have known better. Donald Trump. I think the alien likes Donald Trump. He's a flim-flam man, he's a con artist. He's a huckster. He's not necessarily all that talented. Elon Musk, he gets Elon Musk. That's the way the world works. Great men come to the top, and they if they have a vision, that's fine. But the whole socialism thing he doesn't get, and he doesn't get the whole thing about why everybody's dumping on Israel. They were attacked. He does. I guess he gets why the people were mad at Germany for World War II. But Napoleon, I mean, they're just acting on human nature. He kind of doesn't get why people are still angry about that. It's like, what did you expect them to do? They were smarter. They had the technology. Now the Jews are doing the same thing. The Jews they're smart. They have the technology, and they're wiping out their enemies the way that the Nazis did. Such is life. Now, you probably want to restrain that because genocide is bad for business, and it could cause hard feelings. It's bad for. He's got a very mafia mentality. The alien, his species. What was that bug creature in Star Wars? The Ferengi with the big nose. They're kind of like that. They're just make a deal. They don't have unions. They have guilds. People come together simply out of practicalness. Does this work? Doesn't it work? It's the whole idea of justice to him he doesn't quite get. I mean, he understands the concept of trying to make somebody feel guilty, but they don't understand why anybody would try to acknowledge that as anything other than envy and vindictiveness. Justice is you make your own justice, and so he basically is lying on the beach in Israel thinking, everybody hates these people, but they got the upper hand and they want to survive. It's a fucking big deal. The whole planet's on fire. There are people dying in Ukraine. There are people dying in Syria. They don't seem to be able to help themselves. Why should I get emotionally involved? Why? Why in God's name would I ever get emotionally involved? I've got a nice life. I've got my internet company. I've got my science fiction stories. I got my travel agency. They're going to let me stay here because I can't go back because I'm supposed to be dead. I just keep a relatively low profile, and I'm fine. And Israel is probably safer than Europe's going to be in a few years. So why not? he was thinking maybe I'll go to Switzerland, but then he thought, you know what? It's cold and it snows, and in my species, we really don't do well with the snow. The Scandinavians, why in God's name would anybody want to pay taxes to help somebody else? That he thinks is absolutely nuts. Denmark to him is really a bumblebee that shouldn't fly. He thinks that's fascinating. That even though it's a capitalist society, the fact that it is so partially socialist, that even a hybrid like this that would survive. China, he understands. The state wants to play a big role and, move society this way and that way so that they can dominate. He gets that. Mao, not so much, because obviously that didn't work. And creating a society of little ants, that much he gets. That's kind of a model that, an insect colony. But unless you're an insect, it's not working. So why would you even have that as an ideal? He just doesn't get that. So he's on the beach with his internet company and his science fiction cooperative and his travel agency. He's a small businessman living in Israel. They've given him a faked identity, and he's happy. The only thing is, he's a little disconcerted about the fact that he's on a planet full of lunatics that are killing each other and don't realize it's bad for business. The other thing he's a little concerned about is this social justice thing and men wanting to be. I mean, obviously in his species, it's a little more of a homosexuality is a little bit more normal because you can actually pick your sex, and you can decide whether you want to produce. But he can control that, being a chameleon. He's like frogs or whatever, like a salamander. But he can hold a human form. He doesn't understand why anybody would want to do surgery and hormones. Because if you were born a male and you want to wear a wig and a dress, that's fine. He doesn't get the surgery because the surgery, again, like socialism, it doesn't work. You're not going to ever be able to have babies. So there's certain things about this planet that really concern him. That they've the identity politics is just nuts to him. Nuts. Because he doesn't see why people don't realize who started identity politics? The Nazis. I'm German. I'm better than you. And so now everybody's into that game. The Zionists. But to him, it's just about making a buck, and he doesn't understand the whole concept of socialism and justice, or why people want to fight. But it's not because of immorality. It's just terribly stupid. To him, it just seems so terribly foolish. What would be even more foolish would be to pick a side, especially to pick sides with with the people that are losing. The other thing that concerns him is like Russia and China might come and start a world conflagration. So he's thinking, you know what? I might just be on this planet till it blows itself up. And I'm going to try to have the best life that I can. I'm going to have my travel agency. I'm going to have my science fiction stories. I'm going to have my software company. I'm going to live a comfortable life, keep a low profile. I've got another 50, 60 years before I die of old age. Because they live a little longer than we do. I'll try not to make that look too crazy. Hopefully the planet will last another 50, 60 years. But he's not concerned about... the only thing he's concerned about from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, is that he lives in Israel. And he doesn't want to be pushed off of his land now, where he lives. So who's he going to side with? So he says, if I think they're going to give me voting rights, I think I'll vote Likud. We're all just trying to survive. I think that might be the message of this alien. He's just trying to fit in and survive. And the whole thing about justice and who gets what and who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. Maybe that's something we should be more concerned about. But is the alien? No, the alien thinks that's the problem. We're nuts. We're too much involved with our emotions and our passions, and not enough with cold hard logic and making businesses work. And I don't know if you're supposed to take anything from the story or just think I think he likes Ayn Rand. He thinks Ayn Rand's he thinks Rand Paul is the bee's knees. Who are some other ones? Elon Musk. He admires that, even though he was he wasn't rich. He was just like on the lower echelons. But now he realizes he's a big fish in a smaller pool. I mean, he was just some dumb, he had a low level position. He had low talents. He's kind of like Drew Carey, basically. He was just some guy, probably not as nice as Drew Carey, who had limited abilities and limited motivation. He's kind of lazy. Now he's in a place where he's a little bit above the grade as far as intellect goes, and he can run a business, and he knows he can make travel agencies and software and science fiction. So he's just going to lead the best life he can. And the other thing is, he doesn't really identify with other human beings because he's not. He's a stranger in a strange land. So he's like, why in God's name would I take anybody's side? I'm on the side of who can give me a better life. So, Hava Nagila. If I can just flush that story out, it might just have enough irony to make people want to read it. Now, is it some moral lesson? Is that the way the world is? Or is this alien kind of an example of why the world is so messed up? We look out for number one and screw everybody else. But that's the way the universe is, evidently. It's basically Hong Kong and Ayn Rand. It's basically anarcho-capitalism. They can't understand why we decided that the state should be a good guy and be an arbiter of who gets what. It's impractical, and to him, that's corruption. That's the most corrupt thing that you can. So to him, socialism just sounds like it's not justice. It's just angry losers wanting more than they deserve. And he says, as an angry loser, I can understand that. But also, as a person with half a brain, I realize you can't have a society based on that mentality. It will fall apart very rapidly. And besides, I'm not an angry loser here anymore. I'm a little bit above the competition. My IQ is about 160, which is basically like a 95 IQ back home. I was a little below. I was considered lazy and not ambitious. Here, I don't really have to be ambitious. I'm smarter. My race has a little bit more energy. We don't get tired as easy. I'm going to avoid alcohol, but caffeine's like speed to them, to his creatures. What will we call them? The xenomorphs, the Malengis, something like the Ferengis, the Falembis, the Flumbis, something like the Ferengis. It's like money lenders in space. So maybe it's logical. I'm trying to be. I don't want to be anti-Semitic, but basically the story is he's doing okay. He got kidnapped by Hamas. He doesn't particularly like Hamas. He saw the suffering. It's like his attitude is better them than me. That might be a story people can relate to. I don't know. I have to flush out these ideas.